Jane Exotic Random Book Review. And this time we are reviewing Wicked, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West. And I just sort of randomly saw this at the Will one day for a whopping $1. And I had heard about the Broadway show and I'd seen different snippets of it. And it looks like it would be a really good show. So I kind of had that in mind. Not quite sure what to expect from the book. Now, as I'm referring to my notes here. Now, the book itself flows really nicely. I mean, for the size of the book, it was a really quick read. And, you know, the characters don't feel cluttered any. So when he introduces one, it kind of fits into the next, So it wasn't like just a jumble of characters. Each person sort of had their place. But the main problem I had was the language of the characters. The writer would just sort of... With Glinda, it kind of made sense. But all his characters sort of had this, like, high intellectual language where he just he wanted to come across making these characters sound intelligent, but the way he came across in the book was just that he used a bunch of big words in a paragraph. You know, it's like it didn't glue very well. And I just wasn't impressed. It just made me kind of disrespect the author more. It's like he wanted to sound more intelligent than he actually was, kind of like me on a normal basis. But I don't lie about it. So that was sort of like my major qualm. If you grew up or are aware of, like, The Wizard of Oz that everybody seems to know, Dorothy Gale, ancient days, black and white, that, you know, ask your great-grandparents. You know, I don't know how old you are, but it's an old movie. You know, you do have sort of a base of reference of, like, okay, this is Munchkin Land, this is Oz, and a sort of a tiny little snapshot of the people. So you do at least have a visual aspect, but you don't appreciate that they inhabit, like, a bigger world. It's kind of like, he kind of puts it kind of like the Shire, where you're dealing with the hobbits, but you've got this whole other world. You've got Mount Doom, you've got this, you know, entire culture, and smaller cultures in amongst the whole world, and that's kind of what this is. It's almost like a Game of Thrones type of thing, you know, which you would not quite expect. It's very heavy-handed in its political speak, which is kind of the basis of the book. There's, like I said, it's a very Game of Thrones feel. So you wouldn't... Basically, if I could sum it up, picture Game of Thrones with Munchkin Landers. Or people from Munchkin Land. Pretty much what he's trying to do. You know, and the Wicked Witch is the one that's sitting in, like, the center. The Wicked Witch is like Khaleesi. So, that's what you'll be having to picture when you're reading this book. And he doesn't shy away from that at all. Another kind of thing that kind of jarred me in some ways was, like, the passage of time. There are big gaps, which kind of makes sense. I mean, you're going through the life from the beginning of, you know, the birth of the Wicked Witch to the end. So you're not going to have every single day, but there was no... It didn't lead into the gaps. They were just like, oh, and there she is. She's, you know, 5. Now she's 15. Kind of like, Les Mis, the movie, where you're suddenly like, losing battery. Can't do that, can I? Okie dokie. Hold on. There we go. Battery hiccup. So, you know, there was no flow into the timeline. It just sort of went... So that was kind of throwing things off. Trying to figure out what I was saying. Okay. Now, once you... It doesn't go... See, I would like to have seen a book where you see the movie timeline from the witch's perspective. That's kind of what I was hoping for, but you don't get that. You get pre-movie and then by the time it syncs up with the movie, it's like 3 pages and it's done. It's like, what? That's kind of like the most interesting part. So it's in some ways very, it's only based on the movie. It's using the characters and the places, and everything else is totally new. So I enjoyed the book, but it kind of threw me. I wasn't quite sure what to expect. So you kind of have all these different like ideas, and once you get into the book, you're kind of like, okay, it was enjoyable, but what? So I do highly recommend this book. If you take it, you know, put everything you know about the Wicked Witch and the whole Wizard of Oz and all that stuff, if you totally ignore that, see the book as it is, very, very good. Especially if you haven't seen the show, read the book, because I'm sure they're going to be 2 different monsters. Because Elphaba in the book, I can't picture doing stuff on the stage. In the pieces I've seen on YouTube, it's like, what? So, yeah, it's quite interesting. Save a place on the shelf between Alice and the Hobbit. That spot is well deserved. Kirkus Reviews. When Dorothy triumphed over the Wicked Witch of the West in L. Frank Baum's classic tale, we only heard her side of the story. But what about her arch nemesis, the mysterious witch? Where did she come from? How did she become so wicked? And what is the true nature of evil? Gregory Maguire creates a fantasy world so rich and vivid that we will never look at Oz in the same way again. Which is somewhat true. Wicked is about a land where animals talk and strive to be treated like their first-class citizens. Munchkinlanders seek the comfort of middle-class stability, and the Tin Man becomes a victim of domestic violence. And then there's the little green-skinned girl named Elphaba, who will grow up to become the infamous Wicked Witch of the West, a smart, prickly, misunderstood creature who challenges all of our preconceived notions about the nature of good and evil. So, a good pickup. And it does have snippets of the show. Where's that? So yes, I highly suggest reading Wicked, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West. So, thank you for watching. Do remember to comment, rate, share, and subscribe. There's always room for one more at the Strange and Exotic. See you next time, and happy reading!